of all ages working together to grow much needed food and help build community here in Kansas City. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ben.
Thank you, Shelley. Good morning, everybody. So how do I, okay, here's my clicker. Does it work? It does work, great. So yeah, our mission is to enable low-income households. This was our mission back when we started, first where we started. Some of you are familiar with the Metropolitan Lutheran Ministries, local organization in town. They do a lot of food assistance. And they started back in 1979, handing out packets of vegetable seeds. And it kind of took off from there. 85, it became a separate not-for-profit. And then we were able to grow in lots of other areas, but we've always had the same mission of helping low-income households and community groups to grow food, and because it works. And here in Kansas City, we have land. Lots of towns, big cities, Chicago, New York, land is really limited. But here in Kansas City, people can have gardens. So we do with individual families. She mentioned 700. Those are the group settings. We have over 3,000 households that are growing gardens. Some of them are at places where they rent a plot from us. Others are just people gardening in their backyards because people in Kansas City have backyards. So the average garden can grow a lot of produce. This year has been an incredible year for gardening, which is kind of surprising because how hot it was and how dry it was. This is one of the best years we've had for growing in many years. So we're very excited about that. But for individuals, they sign up, they become a member. For $2, a low-income household can join and get 10 packs of seed. They get fertilizer. They can sign up to rent the plot or to have the garden tilled up in their backyard. The whole idea is to make it very, very affordable for these households to grow food, because if they had to spend, at market rates, they probably wouldn't make that investment. It's just, anytime you're farming or gardening, you're taking a risk. It's a gamble because you don't know at the beginning if it's going to work, especially for families who haven't done this before. So if with that low price point, they're willing to, jump in and start growing. And our rent-a-plot gardens are part of that program. So we have 9 large ones. Our office is in Swope Park, and we have a large garden there. You should come visit us sometime. There's another one actually right outside here that is owned by the Kaufman Foundation. So literally just outside here, we have a large orchard and community garden that's within walking distance from this building. But anyhow, they're spread around the metro area. And I will stress that we are a metro-wide organization. Our name is Kansas City Community Gardens, but we are north, south, east, west. We probably go to like 50 miles outside Kansas City, working with different organizations and different schools. At these rental plots, they can typically rent like a garden plot that's 20 by 25 feet, which you grow a lot of produce in that space. But we also have raised beds. Sometimes, like, if people are older, physically challenged, or just don't want to spend that much time gardening, a raised bed is the perfect solution. And then our community partner program is like, oops, what did I do? Kelly, I totally messed up. A little too much technology.
Need to fix something, and this is probably, there we go.
There we go. Thank you.
Maybe try that one. I don't really know.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is typically what people think of when they think of community gardens. And the thing is, though, that there's all different kinds of gardens. So we have like 300 partners around the metro area, like Shelley mentioned, their hospital, of course, and we have any kind of not-for-profit that wants to do a garden, we will help them do that. So some of them are where they're growing food for others. Other ones are where it's the residents growing for themselves. So it might be like low-income housing for seniors, could be group homes. There's churches that are doing food pantry gardens. So any kind of not-for-profit that wishes to do that, we will help them, and we provide resources. We can help them with garden construction. We help with garden planning. The whole idea is to make it simple, because all of you know, if you're working for not-for-profits, you're busy. Sometimes they have staff people to help manage those gardens. Other times they bring in volunteers from the outside, like master gardeners. So there's lots of different ways to do it, and it's not one size fits all. So anyhow, a lot of them are donation gardens, and of course there's also youth gardens as well. Giving Grove is an organization this is confusing, because Giving Grove was a program that was started at Kansas City Community Gardens, and then it became evident that other cities would benefit from having a Giving Grove program. So a separate not-for-profit was started to take this throughout the country. And so there are like 11 or 12 other cities like St. Louis, Nashville, anyhow, they're all around. And I've been on their board for a while. And so that is the Giving Grove national organization. But locally, the Giving Grove is a program under Kansas City Community Gardens. And the idea is community orchards, just like community gardens, but fruit trees and berry bushes, because you can produce a lot of food from just a very few fruit trees. Typically, our orchards are like 15 trees, but sometimes only 5 trees. There's a few of them that are like 100+ trees that are producing lots of food. There is a little bit of a time lag with fruit trees, of course. It's a little bit different than vegetables. Vegetables, you get that immediate gratification. Fruit trees, you're waiting probably about 5 years till you get pretty good production. I usually get some production in year 3, which is encouraging, because then you know it's going to happen. But after 5 years, you're starting to get pretty good full-time production. And we are trying to teach people how to grow fruit sustainably, organically, which is a big challenge. But if you're not familiar, your typical apple orchard gets like sprays every week for 22 weeks throughout the seasons. So that's a lot of heavy-duty pesticides that's going onto your fruit plants. So we are doing that organically. We have Matt Bunch. If you haven't met him, he used to be out at Powell Gardens doing their Heartland Harvest Garden, and he is the fruit gardening guru who is figuring out how to do all this organically, which is great. 200+ orchards. Some of these sites are connected to a community garden. Some of them are connected to a school, and some of them are just standalone orchards, but they're popping up all over town. If you get a chance to look at our website, there's lots of great resources there, but there's also some maps that will show you where all the community gardens are located, all the orchards, and all our school gardens, because that's the other program we do. This past year, over 200 school gardens, and this was interesting when we started out back in 2008. We got some grant money to start doing school gardens officially as a program. We had done a few before then, but the idea was we were thinking it was just going to be elementary schools, you know, because that is kind of the perfect age for gardening. But then we started getting some middle schools. We also have some high schools. So that's been interesting. And then the thing that really surprised us was getting preschools interested in doing gardening, because, you know, I don't know if you ever tried to garden with 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds. It's challenging, but at that age, they are just like little sponges wanting to soak up information. They're wanting to learn, and they're wanting to taste vegetables. Sometimes when you get to middle school, it's hard to get kids to taste vegetables, but preschools, they will put anything in their mouth. So it's really easy to work with them. And it's just exciting to see, because if you can start learning about eating healthy when you're 4-year-old, 5-year-old, that's something that will last you through your life, and you're going to be healthier, because we all know the more servings of fruits and vegetables that you eat, you will be healthier throughout your life. So you can see there's a huge number of students that are impacted. Those are actual numbers of students that participated in a school garden throughout 1 year. And then we also have what we call the Beanstalk Children's Garden. It's a field trip destination located at our headquarters in Swope Park. And so in the summer, we get summer day camp groups coming through. We know this time of year we get school groups coming through, and so it's not unusual. Like I'm at my office and I'm looking out my window and I see a school bus pull up with 80 kids on it. Or hopefully not 80, maybe that's too many. But sometimes there's 2 school buses with 80 kids, and they get a tour. The tours break down into groups of like 10 to 12, so they get a more easier learning situation. It's hard to talk to 40 kids at once, but in a group of 10 or 12 works really well. They learn about where food comes from. They learn about the importance of eating fruits and vegetables, and they learn all about things like bugs and soil and all the things that go along with that. So there's a lot of science involved. Same thing with the schoolyard gardens. They get a lot of science, and so that's one of the reasons that teachers are able to do that, is because they're learning about science while they're learning about growing food. So let's just go back there for a minute. So we've been around for a long time. The things we do is, again, trying to offer all the resources that people need to do gardening. It's not unusual. Like some group will say, we tried to start a garden on our own and it didn't work, because it's so easy to like figure out, are you trying to do raised beds? You're trying to do ground plots? What are you going to try and grow? And these are all the kinds of things that we can help you with. We're trying to make it easy so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel if you're trying to do a garden. And so right now is fall, and people are gardening for fall. So a lot of people don't realize there's 3 great seasons in Kansas City. There's spring gardens, and then of course summer warm season crops, and then fall cool season crops again. And so people will be gardening up through November, and sometimes even to December, which is kind of interesting. And of course you can do season extension, things like row cover. And you can be harvesting kale from your vegetable garden year round if you really want to work at it. So for us, the gardening year starts actually in January. It's like January, our office, it's like somebody turns on a switch and all of a sudden people are ready to come in and start talking about gardening, because they've been cooped up for the winter. They're getting seed catalogs in the mail. They're ready to go. So literally, it's an exciting place to come visit community gardens, even in February. So I do recommend you come and visit the Beanstalk Children's Garden sometime, even if you don't have children. If you're just a casual gardener, it's a great place to come and see lots of amazing plants. In that garden, you'll see, besides fruits and vegetables, there's an herb section, there's a pollinator garden, there's a seed and grain garden where we teach children about the farm crops that help feed the world, things like oats and rice, and wheat and corn and soybeans and quinoa, all those kinds of things. So it really is just an amazing place to see all different kinds of food plants in one place. So I think that's it. So if people want to give some questions for a minute while you're trading slides.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right.
So I'm gonna give you this too, so you can answer questions. And while I'm bringing up the next slide or the next presentation, we have a chance to ask a couple of questions. One thing I do want to highlight that I don't think Ben actually mentioned, but we take full advantage of as a community partner garden of Kansas City Community Gardens, is all the resources they have available online. You don't have to be an expert gardener. They have resources to help you plan your spring, summer, and fall garden. They have videos to help you understand how to plant, how to harvest. And so it is a plethora of information that gives you the opportunity to learn while you're doing it as well. So go ahead.
I did forget to mention we have workshops. So we do a lot of gardening workshops, and those are available to come in person or to actually watch online. And we have a bunch of them that you can go to our YouTube channel and see those again, so if you can't get off on Friday at noon to go see a workshop, you can see it later. Question?
Yeah, great presentation. And I was super interested in the low income program. I mean, that's to make $2, that gets you a lot. Is there anything that can be done if someone is a renter? They don't own their property?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do work, at a lot of the low income housing developments, we have gardens, and that is one way. So like if they were rented, we could work with the management. Sometimes management is difficult to work with in those situations. Landlords aren't always necessarily excited, but we can also help them identify a location near them where there might be a place where they could rent a plot. We have those 9 large community gardens, but then there's also some of our community partners where they have rental plots available too. So the odds are we can help them find a place somewhere to do a garden. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, and we'll have plenty of opportunity to ask additional questions at the end of all the presentations. So thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you.
And now I'm going to invite Fran up to the podium. She has been the executive director of Cultivate Kansas City since 2021. Previously, she worked at the Denver Botanic Gardens for 12 years as the manager of urban food programs. She holds a Master of Public Health degree from the Colorado School of Public Health. She's a board member of the KC Food Hub, serves on the Mid-America Regional Council's Climate and Environment Council, is an advisory board member of the K-State Olathe campus, serves on the Jackson County Extension Council for the University of Missouri, and was a 2020 Rocky Mountain Farmers Union Fellow, and served on the board of the American Community Gardening Association. Quite an impressive resume. We're happy to have you here. Thanks so much.
Good morning, everyone. I get to talk about Cultivate KC today, one of my favorite topics, and we're a nonprofit that's been serving the Kansas City area since 2005. Our 2 founders, Catherine Kelly and Daniel Dermitzel, were both themselves urban farmers in the Kansas City community, but also had significant experience farming around the country. And Daniel in particular had been doing small scale and urban type farming throughout the world, actually. And they both also brought a community organizing lens, excuse me, to the work that they did. So both of them had been farming in the Kansas City community for about 10 years, doing for-profit urban farming. And they had the realization that if there was going to be more opportunities for other people to do what they were doing, there needed to be an organization that was able to provide the resources that beginning urban farmers needed in our community. And so that's what they decided to do. So our mission is to grow food, farms, and communities in support of an equitable, healthy local food system for all. And I will talk a bit about the programs that we have that help us meet that mission. But going back to our first year of existence, it really was this 2 tracks. We knew that if other farmers were going to have the same opportunities to start these for-profit businesses that would then help increase food access in our community, they needed resources. And those could be physical resources, like the things you need to be able to grow and farm, but it was also educational resources and connections. And then the other track is that if you're going to have all of these fabulous, well-trained farmers growing food and providing food for our community, you need an audience who is interested in buying local. And so a lot of what we've done at Cultivate KC over the years is more on the public education side, as well as connecting farmers with markets and helping open new markets for sales for local food. So our big 4 program areas is the New Roots program. We have a couple different programs that fall into our food access bucket, and I'll talk about that. Urban farmer development is that everything we can offer that can make a farmer successful in our community. And then we still do public education, and a lot of that happens at our Midtown site, which right now is the Westport Commons Farm. New Roots is one of my favorite programs to talk about. This is always been a direct partnership with Catholic Charities of Northeast Kansas. And in Kansas City, Kansas, this organization is doing the major lifting on refugee resettlement, among all the other amazing programs that they offer. And so once a refugee's been in our country for about 4 or 5 years, they're a bit more settled into their community. They may have landed somewhere else, and now they've decided KCK is going to be their home. Housing is met, kids are enrolled in school, healthcare needs are starting to be met. This is around the time that the folks at Catholic Charities will start to have conversations about workforce development. And if someone's going through that screening process and they mention that they had an agricultural background in their home country and they're interested in pursuing that as a career here, they can get recommended to our program. And what we are is a 4-year land-based incubator, so business incubator and farm training program. So farmers who come into our program, they lease 1/8 of an acre at our Juniper Gardens training farm. During the 4 years that they're with us, my team is helping them refine their agricultural knowledge, figure out how the pests are different here versus Myanmar, what the growing season, how that's different. And then also, most of our farmers are going to be selling at farmers markets for at least a portion of their income. So they need to have an understanding of when things go in the ground so that you have all the items you need harvested at the right time to have that at a farmer's market, as well as an understanding of what crops are going to sell best at farmers markets. That's not to say that we don't still encourage and see a lot of more culturally relevant crops being grown, but if you don't have cherry tomatoes and you don't have carrots and ideally you have snap peas, those are some of the items that are highly sought after at farmers markets. So we try to balance those two things. Farmers who are in this program, usually in the first year, they're seeing between $3,000 and $6,000 in income just from that 1/8 of an acre that they are renting from our space. By the time someone's graduating in that third, fourth year, we're seeing sales closer to 15 or 20,000, just on that 1/8 of an acre. Also by that point, because in order to run the program, we need to be graduating folks off the land. Around the third year is when we see most farmers starting to find additional land, either that they've purchased, ideally with a home, or that they're leasing from another organization. So by that point, they're starting to get some income from other sites as well. Okay, on to our food access. So the biggest program that we take part in is Double Up Food Bucks. And this is a very large collaborative. It's run by Mid-America Regional Council. And in its inception, it was just the Kansas City area was be able to participate in this program. Over the pandemic, there was extra funding available. Double Up Food Bucks in our community and pretty much all the Double Up Food Bucks programs you'll see around the country are funded through, at least in part, through a USDA program called GusNEP, the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program. So anyway, during the pandemic, there was extra GusNEP funding to allow programs to expand. So as of now, this program that I will describe in a second serves all of Kansas and all of Missouri, and Mid-America Regional Council is the group overseeing that. And so the nuts and bolts of it, if you are someone who's receiving federal food assistance through the SNAP program, you have your EBT card that gets loaded with benefits every month. If you go to one of the farmers markets or grocery stores that are participating in this program, you can get what you're spending on fresh produce, or sorry, local produce, should be fresh as well. That will be matched dollar for dollar up to $25. And there's no limitation on how many markets you go to or grocery stores per week, other than what's loaded on your benefit card. But you can visit City Market on Saturday and Sunday and also hit up some grocery stores as well. So our organization manages the farmers market relationships in Kansas City. And what we see going out in that matching every year is about 140 to 150,000. So huge win for the consumer. They've got that extra money to spend on top of their federal benefit. But then for the farmer in the community, we like to think about the doubling. So that's between $250,000 to $300,000 that is going into our food economy. And that money can only be spent on the items that are available at farmers markets and sometimes grocery stores. A bit of a smaller match only because there's less federal dollars available for it, but the senior farmers market nutrition program, or in the Kansas City area, we just refer to it as senior market match. This is a program that seniors in both Kansas and Missouri can get vouchers, qualifying seniors, I should say, can get vouchers of $50 that can be spent at farmers markets throughout the season. Our organization recognizes that 50 isn't going to take you that far, so we sought local funding to be able to raise that match to $70, or I can't remember if it's 70 or 75 this year, but every year we're able to add a little bit more money to that just to make the senior budget go a little bit further. And then a very exciting project that some of you may have been familiar with in its original form, but it is about to relaunch as a partnership with Cultivate KC, is the DOT Mobile Grocer. And as of a few years ago, this was an entirely volunteer-run program with beautiful branding and a beautiful idea. And the DOT Mobile Grocer is trying to meet the need in Wyandotte County, for a county that has, particularly the eastern half of the county, that has particularly high food insecurity and low food access. For all of the county, there's only 16 WIC retailers. And the majority, I think 2/3 of those, are located in the western half of the county, where conditions are considerably different. So for someone living in Northeast KCK in particular, or other parts of eastern Wyandotte County, if you don't have a car, it can be really tricky to get to a full grocery store, and there aren't even that many corner markets that are left. And I think many of you probably know, but to be a WIC retailer, which is just another benefit that we want to make sure people are able to utilize, a retailer has to have a full offering of groceries, everything from bread items to meat to frozen to fresh produce to infant formula. And so that often precludes some of the corner markets from being able to participate in that program. So Dot Mobile was born as a way to fill that gap. And it's a grocery store on wheels that can carry the full product line so that it can accept WIC, accept SNAP, and then eventually will be part of the Double Up Food Bucks program as well. So we are very hopeful that this will be relaunching in the next month or so. We've had some trouble. Originally, the volunteers who were running it, and now this is on Cultivate's shoulders, but we've had some trouble retaining drivers because the nature of this vehicle does require a CDLB, so a truck driving license to do that, but we're overcoming that right now. So be on the lookout for updates on Dottie. This also, I should mention, prior to Cultivate being involved, and now that Cultivate is involved, has been a partnership with Canby's. Because it's a grocery store and it's on wheels, it does need to be plugged in overnight. So our friends at Canby's have been helping us with that, and hopefully we'll continue. I'll just say a few words about urban farmer development. We like to say it's whatever it takes to help a farmer grow. So we offer a bit of we have a small mini grant program that we can give out grants of $3,000 to $3,500 that help buy a new tool or increase food security on the farm, or sometimes fix a broken water line. There's a huge limitation to a farmer's success. We also are able to connect farmers with other sources of funding. So whether it's a USDA program, Missouri Department of Ag, the Rebuild KC grants were a really great opportunity to see ARPA funding going towards urban farming in our area. And we will provide technical assistance for anyone who is interested in participating in those programs, but it's particularly important for graduates of our New Roots program, for whom English is often not a first language, and filling out government documents is tough for anyone. So we can provide that navigation. And then once funds have been secured, we have people on staff who can go out and help provide some of the technical assistance and just building skills needed to see some of these projects through. Another program I like to highlight in urban farmer development is the bulk orders that we do. And this kind of goes back to that original idea that if we have farmers in our community, we want to make sure that they have all the resources they need to be successful. So we'll do a couple bulk orders each year of resources that are difficult to find in our community, organic seed potatoes, organic strawberry starts, and fertilizers and greenhouse mixes. We can bring those in, and by buying a semi-load, we can keep the price low for farmers. So we're always looking for those types of opportunities. And then lastly, I mentioned public education. I'll just say a few words about what that looks like on the ground. We try to keep these events open to anyone in the community who would be interested. We do have education that's specific to farmers, and we might talk about no-till agriculture, or what that looks like on the small scale, or one of our most popular ones recently was filing a Schedule F if you've never done that before as a farmer. So that's not for everyone, but events like having the cows out to our Westport field to help mow down the cover crop, that's just fun and engaging and gets people thinking about the local food system. We have a couple sites around town. We have our Westport farm, our Juniper Gardens training farm. The picture down there below is a food forest that's been part of our part of our program for many years now. So we can give tours, we can get tours going on other farms and start having those conversations. We love happy hours too. That's another great access point for public education. So our Westport Commons site will be moving at the end of the year, but we are pretty sure we'll still be in Midtown. So I'll just mention a few things that we're building out with that program that is public education, but it's also very farmer focused. So the map here is just showing our location is the red dot. All the other dots are existing for-profit small urban farms that are nearby. They're all on fairly small acreage, usually less than half an acre, sometimes what used to be a home lot, so 7,000 square feet. And they're maximizing their grow space for obvious reasons, which doesn't leave a lot of room for some of the other accessory structures that will make a farm business successful. So at our Westport site, or we'll just call it the Midtown site, once we land on our new site, we do plan to build a community greenhouse so that farmers can have a place to adequately grow grow their plant starts that they can get in the ground in spring and fall. We have an existing tool library at our Westport site. It's just a little bit difficult to access. So at our new site, we'll have a more accessible, more robust offering in our tool library. That's open to farmers. That's also open to any community member. You can find more information about that on our website. So please feel free to utilize that tool library. And then we've heard from several of our other food access partners that it would be great to have more cold storage in Midtown to aggregate donations of fresh produce. So that is also in the works for probably next year once we have our new site picked out. And that's us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was outstanding. So I'm going to ask one question to get us started, and then I'm going to go between presentations. But you mentioned the different farms, 12 farms, I think you showed on your map, something like that. Can people go directly to those farms to buy from them, or are they going to be distributing to a farmer's market somewhere?
Some of them, I'll mention Young Family Farm, which is on 39th Street. They have a farm stand right on site. I think almost all those others are going to be selling at one of the farmers markets in that area.
Any other questions immediately while I bring up our next presentation? Okay, thank you so much. And we'll have plenty of time for additional questions as well. Okay, so with that,
Wi-Fi.
oh, that's right. Thank you so much. So we had a little hiccup with the Wi-Fi. Apparently, someone changed the Wi-Fi password unbeknownst to the technology team. So for any of you who would like to get back on the Wi-Fi, it is Kaufman with a capital K. That's the new Wi-Fi password. So you're welcome to type that into your computers and get back on that. I don't think we lost our Zoom connection. That was just a little bit different. So yeah, it's always fun to deal with those sorts of things in the middle of a meeting. I'm sure I am not as stressed as he was when he had to come in here and tell us that, though. Okay, so with that, I'm going to bring up Michael Watson from After the Harvest. And Michael has quite an interesting biography. And so I'm going to, no, you don't want me to read it. I love it. It's so exciting. I think you all should know this. So Michael is widely regarded as one of the best high school, collegiate, professional basketball players to ever come out of Kansas City area. And I will confirm this by another one of our organizational partners who was bragging about him at a separate meeting that we were having. And he was so excited that Michael was going to be here today to present. A native of Puerto Rico, I can't say the name, I'll let you say the name of the town, but he grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. He graduated from Central High School before attending UMKC. While at UMKC, he enjoyed a record-setting basketball career, finished as both UMKC and the Mid-Continent Conference's all-time leading scorer with 2,488 points. Quite impressive. Not only was Watson a stellar basketball player on the court, he also established himself as a prominent community member and public figure, as also evidenced not just by his bio, but what other people are telling us about him as well. So upon graduation from UMKC, he began his professional basketball career as a free agent with the NBA Boston Celtics. After his rookie campaign, he went on to play 10 seasons of international professional basketball all around the world. I won't say all the places, but he is now, let's see, here in the area. He helped establish the urban ministry for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He founded a nonprofit youth sports organization, Mentality, by Michael Watson in 2016. It provides affordable access to youth sports for boys and girls ages 6 to 17. He served as the district director of athletics for Kansas City Public Schools from 2013 to 2015, where he managed all athletics and activities for 6 high schools, 2 middle school programs. He remains close to the game and is a color analyst for Spectrum Sports and a few other networks as well. Very exciting. And now he is the executive director for After the Harvest. Now, there are a few other things that I skipped over here, but it is quite an impressive bio. And we are really happy to have someone who also understands nutrition and physical activity go hand in hand. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Michael.
Thank you. I don't know who sent that bio in. That is long. Oh, good morning. Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all today. I'm excited to share what After the Harvest is up to. Many of you I've met, some of you I have not met yet, so I look forward to getting acclimated with you all. After the Harvest was founded in what I put?
You should
This one?
hopefully, yeah, let's give
Okay.
that one a shot. There we
Boom.
go.
Killing it. All right, so After the Harvest was founded in 2014 by a small team that believe hungry people should not be hungry in the greater Kansas City area. Lisa Ousley is actually the founding executive director in 2014 of After the Harvest. So some of you may know who she is. She's actually serving as my advisor right now this year. I came on at the beginning of January, and so kind of drinking from a water hose and learning everything that After the Harvest does. And there's a potential that we have to continue to serve the community. Since founding 8 years ago, we rescued more than 32 million pounds fruits and vegetables before it could go to waste. And so it's something that we're very proud of. Every month it feeds about 226,000 people through our agency partners. Our team right here, I have to shout them out because I know they're watching and critiquing me online. Clay Jarrett, he's our Gleaning Network manager out there to the left. That's Lisa Ousley right next to me. That tall, dark, handsome guy right there, that's me. We have Carol Joe, she's one of our Gleaning coordinators. The pregnant young lady right there, that's Brooke Freeman. She's our community engagement and volunteer coordinator. Right here is Jane in the middle. She is our director of administration. And then some of the correspondence, well, all the correspondence you get from Autumn right there, she is our communication and marketing specialist. So our mission, to fight food insecurity, reduce food waste, and improve nutrition. After Harvest rescues nutritious fruits and vegetables from going to waste, and we donate them to local pantries. You see the map right here, just food insecurity in our region. We kind of break it down by zip codes, and I'll get to that a little bit later as to why we're doing it like that now. You see in Wyandotte County, about 15% of adults and 25% of children are in food insecure areas, and it goes on down from our regional zip codes. Some of the numbers in 2022, we rescued 2.5 million pounds of food, served over 378 pantries and agencies. Over $2 million in produce donations have been given out by us, and then $51,000 in volunteer labor value. And so we're really big on our volunteers, and we can't operate and do what we do without them. We're really known for our gleaning program. Gleaning is an old biblical tradition where people gather the food after the harvest and make sure that people in the areas were fed. And so we're able to do that with the help of thousands of volunteers that we partner with, and then over 160 farmers that we also partner with that allow us to come onto their land and glean the produce that we then donate to the agencies. Some of our notes for 2022, nearly 1 million pounds are rescued just via the gleaning operation that we do. We also glean from local farmers markets, so you might have seen us out there. And then we have 300,000 pounds of total wholesale distributor pounds, over 290 distributor salvages as well. So you talked about the apple orchards and cornfields. If you want to see something funny, watch me in a cornfield. I'm telling you, I still get scared. You remember Children of the Corn? Is it just me? All right, y'all know I'm not playing. I was out in the cornfield a couple months ago. I'm like, I just looking for it out there, like Jebediah. Was it Jebediah? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of you young folks may not know, but watch Children of the Corn. That's a whole deal. One of our biggest programs is our truckloads programs, and this is where we are able to move 40,000 pound truckloads across the country, and we partner with harvesters. They're our biggest partner in the area. We donate 40,000 pounds of fresh produce. It could be potatoes, cucumbers, watermelons. It could be anything from all over the country, and that's where we're able to meet our pounds as far as meeting our goal each year. But with this, it's so much food that we have to partner with a big agency like Harvesters to get out. They partner with us sometimes on the shipping of it as well. You see our numbers in 2022, 1.5 million pounds of fresh produce moved just via the truckloads program. So that was 39 total truckloads last year with an estimated value of nearly $600,000. Food waste is the reason that we do what we do. 52% of the U.S. Grown produce is wasted annually. So that's enough to feed the world's population 2 times over. And that's just amazing. It's an amazing stat and a big reason that I was excited to join in with After the Harvest, after traveling the world and seeing so much waste, so much loss, and then the need that's there, understanding how we can directly impact that was huge for me, or is huge for me. And so we want to make sure that we continue to impact that number and understanding, so farmers understand that the crops that they grow do not have to go to waste. We use the EPA's warm calculator in our efforts to present unnecessary waste of the good produce. It has had the environmental impact equivalent of preventing 15,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide from poisoning our atmosphere. So it's another thing that we want to make sure that we're big on is reducing our carbon footprint and helping farmers do that as well. Here's some of our numbers: over 90 plus varieties of fruits and vegetables that we harvest and give away, with 32 million pounds since 2014. You see our partner agencies, over 175 farmers that we partner with, over 1 million pounds last year in our gleaning program, 15 farmers markets that we also glean from and donate their excess produce, and again, over 1.5 million pounds via our truckloads program last year. This is exciting, something new and exciting that we're going to launch this year. We call it UP, our Urban Produce Push. And our goal with this is to really fill in the gaps where we can have farmers markets, we have the truckloads, we have the vegetables and fruits that we move, getting directly to pantries and agencies in urban areas where they're food insecure or food deserts. And so what we're doing is we're identifying zip codes in the local area where those numbers are at the highest. And so just for an example, 66105 and KCK, you see they don't have, a lot of agencies and pantries in that area. So we want to work with our local partners, our local farmers to move truckloads, or it doesn't have to be the 40,000 pound truckloads, be the smaller truckloads, to move those directly to those agencies. And so we're going to be working with our partners like Canby's, my guy Max. What's up, Max? Max is the man, first of all. Let's start there, okay? So we want to make sure we're working with our local partners to move those directly to those areas. And so that's going to be our new initiative. We're going to be working with a lot of you all, be reaching out to a lot of you all, because one thing I believe is we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't believe in someone taking all the credit, getting all the credit. If we're really about the mission of helping people, then we should be able to work together. And so I'm very direct with that and very upfront about that. And so we're going to be looking for partners to help us with our UP program, to team up. Get it? See what I did there? Team up? No? They're looking like, what is he talking about? So to work with our partners to make sure we team up. You see some of the partner levels that we'll be starting out with, to fund seeds, to move trucks, agency subscriptions. The ways that we're doing that through sponsoring agencies. So organizations and the like, and individuals be able to sponsor an agency, sponsor a zip code even, sponsor a truckload. If they want to move a 40,000 pound truckload, we can help do that. And then we also offer the corporate and team building opportunities for events to come out and glean in the apple orchards, in the cornfields. You want to come out there with me to do some stuff like that. Just a great opportunity. So we're going to be partnering with you all. Don't ignore my emails. Don't send me the spam. When I call you, answer my phone call. I'm going to call you again to make sure that we're able to partner up with our Urban Produce Push. Join our mission, volunteer, donate, or subscribe. I didn't put this together. Autumn did. She's amazing. She rocks. I want to shout her out. But it's a great way that you can partner with After the Harvest. Volunteering is a perfect way to get your organizations involved, to come out and get on the farm or get into a produce market and make sure we're able to continue to send those fresh produce to people in need. You can donate, or you can subscribe to our website for our newsletters. Again, we're excited about the opportunity to work with the greater Kansas City area and just make sure that we're doing our small part in moving fresh produce from farms directly to agencies to make sure we're impacting the food insecure areas in Kansas City. That's it. 10 minutes. Knock it out. That's it. Shot clock.
That was fantastic. So, and maybe I was a little bit distracted, but I'm going to ask one question as I'm working to bring up Max's presentation. Your reach. So what exactly is your sort of geographic reach? You said 175 farmers. That's a lot. Where
it is a lot. We're actually in 26 counties throughout the Missouri, Kansas area. And so we go as far west, past Lawrence, past Topeka. We go down through the Ozarks, up to the Iowa border, and even over right past Columbia, Boonville area with our partner farmers. So we have a long reach with our regional truckloads, and then our national truckloads is the truckload program. We work with Farmers Choice. We're able to move truckloads throughout the country. So we get it from California, Florida, Tennessee, wherever they're growing some goods and we want them. We have a straight connection with Farmers Choice. We make sure we reach out to them and move the truckloads.
Okay, that's a big reach.
It's a big reach,
Much,
yeah.
much bigger than I expected. That's outstanding. Any other questions as I'm working to bring up our last presentation for this morning? And again, we'll still have plenty of time for additional questions.
Yeah,
Thank you
sure.
so much. Okay, I love it when people can watch what I'm doing either on the screen or virtually. Because I'm trying to make it all happen, especially with a little Wi-Fi snafu. Okay. Great, and we've got it. So welcome to Max Kaniger. I hope all of you know Max or have seen him. This is third or fourth time to present at one of our meetings over the past 10 to 15 years. We're happy to have him back. Max is the founder and CEO of Canby's Markets. It sounds like many of you are familiar with Canby's, but if you're not, it was established in 2016. It is a nonprofit organization working to build a more equitable food system. Canby's goal is to serve the community through the distribution of healthy and nutritious produce, and is bringing this mission to fruition. That's a tongue twister. By delivering over 20,000 pounds of fresh, affordable fruits and vegetables to those in need every single month. You thought I was going to say years. Every single month. Through partnerships with over 40 local convenience stores and other partner organizations. So I'm pleased to have him here to share a little bit more about what they're doing. Thanks, Max.
Well, that's a tough act to follow, Michael. I really wish I would have gone before you, but here we are. I am again. My name is Max Kaniger, and I'm really excited to be here in a room full of so many wonderful, smart, talented people, and to share a little bit about something I love very much, because that's really where Canby's got started, was just a love of food and people, and how really delicious meals bring people and whole communities together. I'm fortunate enough to grow up here in Kansas City and grow up really learning from and seeing the incredible work that organizations like Cultivate KC have been doing, like Kansas City Community Gardens have been doing, and then After the Harvest, a little after that. And that's kind of where Canby's got started. It was how can we build on this incredible network, this foundation around food, around communities, around people, and fill some of the missing gaps. Because for me, really, the two big problems that kept coming up with our food system are there's way too much food going to waste while we have too many people hungry. And it seemed like that might be a storage and distribution issue. And so that's really what Canby's is. We are a distribution company at the very basic of it, but we are people-centered at our core. I'm going to skip pretty quickly through the next few slides, because I think, everybody else might have done a pretty great job talking about the problem with food waste. I think Michael nailed that with what they're doing at After the Harvest and trying to reduce that waste. We looked at the billions of pounds of food that go to waste every year, and how we can rescue and, for us, redirect a lot of that food to make sure it's not ending up in landfills, but it's ending up either in our partner corner stores where people can buy it and at an affordable price and make a meal for their family. It's ending up with a number of other kitchens or partner organizations that can cook or make a meal out of it. We're working with a number of farmers then that can also redirect that into animal feed, or at the very least, everything else is composted. So a little bit of talking about some of this. We talk about this. I can kind of go through a little bit quickly, because I think Michael already covered it decently well. Food loss, the waste overall, and what it costs us as a country, and where that leads. It leads to people with empty pantries like this. We talk about food insecurity, and I've got some numbers on the next slide, but I think this one's a little bit more powerful, because numbers can lose the people. When we talk about where and how food insecurity rates are, whether it's the millions of people across the country, or the tens to hundreds of thousands of people here in Kansas City, that's thousands of families that live right around the corner here that are coming home to something like this, and they don't need to. That there really isn't that access to fresh, healthy, affordable food in a consistent way that allows these families that choice, that they're going to work every day and they're doing the best that they can to put real food, real healthy meals on the table for their families, and it just isn't realistic. And so that's what we wanted to change, because we look at like how that affects people and what that looks like for people who are working hard and are starting to try and figure out ways to support themselves, support their families, and not having great options out there available. Oops. Did I do that?
Yeah.
Did I do that? And really, like, so this is something that we look at, like when we think of people who are reliant on SNAP or food stamps, as it was formerly known. There are so many opportunities where people like that they're doing the best they can, and there's kind of this transition between like, how do I make a choice between paying my utility, paying my rent, paying my bills, getting the medicine I need, or getting really good healthy food. And so often people in a lot of these really necessary, especially something we've seen over the last few years with the pandemic, these kind of essential services are put in a position where they have to make some really tough choices. We want to really meet them where they are. We want to provide a service that is understanding and compassionate to that living situation, and see how can we make life a little bit easier. And that's where we've come up with what we like to think of as a beautiful solution to an ugly problem. With Canbies, we are trying to work with those two problems that I mentioned in the food system, where we have too much food going to waste, and bring it as quickly, efficiently, and effectively to the people who need it most. So our main program works with the oversupply or the excess food in that system, and as I mentioned, redirects it. We actually work a lot with the wonderful partners at After the Harvest, bringing food in, helping us make sure that we're getting as much in as we possibly can. We also work with a number of wholesalers. So Liberty Fruit, CNC Produce, these are the kind of traditional wholesalers that service grocery stores and restaurants. We do buy a considerable amount of food from them, but we also get a lot donated so that we can kind of look at food cost for us in the aggregate. But where this donated food is coming in and being redirected, we are, if you can kind of do simple math, quick math up there, if you notice, so we have these 4 paths of redirection. So everything that's donated and brought in, we are using volunteers to help us sort through it so that everything that comes in ends up in kind of that best next place. But if you look, the top 2 categories, the 2 I mentioned earlier, were our corner stores and our partner pantries and other nonprofits. Means a little bit over 50% of the food that we are rescuing is ending up actually in people's mouths. So people are having the opportunity to eat it, which is something I'm really excited about. The other half is ending up with animal feed, or at the very least composted. So because we're able to have the support of volunteers to come in and process all of this food, any of the plastic that might be wrapped around lettuce can be separated out and recycled. Any of the cardboard boxes that they come in can also be separated and recycled. So trying to get as close as possible to zero waste. And this is what it kind of looks like. So for us, it really is looking at how can we bring in and get out this kind of balancing act of where is all this food going to go? How are we going to get it to the right place at the right time? And this is kind of how it breaks out right now. You can kind of see we do compost a fair amount of it, but the partner organizations, so the other organizations that have been in and around Kansas City for a long time, make up the majority share of where a lot of the food that we're bringing in ends up. But we're really excited about how much is actually getting into our corner store program, which I'll talk about in a second, because this is kind of the core business model for the organization. It is looking at access. So we have coolers like this one in a little over 40 locations around the east side of Kansas City. And we try and make it as simple as possible for small corner store, convenience stores, mom and pop shops, liquor stores, gas stations to sell healthy food. So we actually provide all of the equipment that you see there, and all of the produce itself is actually brought in on consignment. So for the small business owners that we're working with, it's trying to be as low risk as possible. They're not having to buy the equipment. They're also not having to buy the food up front. And for us, it means that we get to control the quality and the, bless you, quality and the price of everything that we put on those shelves. So it's making sure that just because people are going to a convenience store where typically you might see a higher price for eggs or cheese or other dairy products or things like that they might stock, we are actually trying to price at and below like a typical grocery store pricing, so that just because people are having to shop at these stores does not mean that the prices should be any higher, that the quality should be any lower. It's also something, so because it's on consignment, we will pull anything that gets kind of beyond that quality standard that we're looking for. Here's just a little bit of an example of like where like wholesale pricing for some of these items that we stock might be, where our prices might be compared to Sunfresh, Aldi, Walmart, and looking at how, as we scale as a kind of social venture, we as an organization can also have a program that is self-sustaining off of the revenue generated from this. Because while each individual item might have a wholesale price point, because we're using the donated food from wholesalers to mix into this, we can look at our food cost in the aggregate. So when we get something like last month, one of our best sellers was actually watermelons that were donated from after the harvest, and that, because we had all those wonderful watermelons that we could put out for sale, we could put, you know, if apples or something like that, or actually avocados were one that sold really well, but were just too expensive at wholesale for us to want to sell them on an individual level. I think they were what, 69 cents an avocado, and we didn't want to sell them at over 69 cents. So we could actually price at or even below the wholesale market for avocados because we had the watermelons to supplement. And we're looking to grow. We're looking to grow how these partnerships work, how we are working with other organizations, like I said, that have come before us and are doing so much good work. As Michael did a great job mentioning that, you know, we aren't here to reinvent the wheel. We're here to work with other organizations. We're here to support that existing infrastructure, that existing network of the convenience stores, the community partners that we have. We're here to grow and work with the other nonprofits, like the ones right here in this room, like Cultivate KC, like After the Harvest, like Kansas City Community Gardens, like Girls on the Run, where we're so excited to like build on some of the partnerships that they've done out, some of the work that they've done in the past. We are also working more and more with hospitals and the kind of health industry. So, I mean, I think one of our favorite programs is the work we do with Children's Mercy. I know our team and some of the volunteers love going over to restock that cooler every week. So we are stocking a cooler over at 31st and Broadway with Children's Mercy, and that's feeding a couple thousand families, over 1,000 families a month right now. I think it's the last number I heard.
No, I think that's it.
Or over the 6 months?
Maybe.
6 months, the whole program was a little over 1,000 families. And we've also got now one of our coolers that I showed. We've got one of those in Veterans Community Project. So they have some of the produce that is for sale for the veterans 7 days a week. And then once a week, they also do a market that will bring additional food to. And actually really excited. We just launched a prescription food voucher program with St. Luke's. So our goal is over the next 6 months to have about 60 patients enrolled in that. So people will actually get a voucher for a prescription to healthy food that they can actually redeem at a few of our locations, one of which is a liquor store. And I think it's kind of exciting to see a liquor store be able to have that kind of transition to what it can offer in the community. And I know the store and store owner is really excited for people to be able to come in and shop with them in that way. But by 2026, our goal is to be in about 130 locations. For us, that would actually mean that we as an organization could start to be self-sustaining. That is a point that the program itself could start to break even. And it's a point where across Kansas City, you would have access, at least proximity wise, to fresh, healthy, and affordable food 7 days a week. So finding ways to really make it so that anybody can go out and around the corner and know that there is going to be fresh, healthy, and affordable food available. And in order to do that, we need to work with the right partnerships, and we need to do the right work in building relationships within the community, because that's the most important part of this is how are we really being intentional about connecting with you know, the wonderful women like Ms. Lackey who have been a part of the community for their whole lives and really help guide not only where we're putting the stores and partnerships that we want to work with, but help us understand what food we want to stock and at what prices make the most sense and what other programs, what other barriers barriers there might be to making it so that she can shop and get good, healthy food as consistently as possible and make that really a big part of her life. But yeah, thank you. That's kind of us. We're hoping to build a more equitable food system. And I do believe that it's possible. I think food insecurity, food access is something that can be fixed. And as a city, I would love if Kansas City was the first one to do it.
Quite ambitious. I love that.
Always.
That's outstanding. Okay, so I'm going to invite each of our panelists to come up to the front. I'm going to grab some chairs. And I would like to open it up for Q&A for all of them, both here in the room. I think we need one more chair. Thank you, Michael. Both in the room and virtually. And so I'm going to hand you the microphone. And we can pass that around as people have questions and answers. So Bill, I'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay, so I'm being a little compelled to bring this up. I'm curious as to how you guys think about the market. And I'm a marketing guy, and I think about, for the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan, one of the struggles we have is, there's a national organization called the World Health Organization that says that physical activity 60 minutes a day is critical for our kids. But there's a whole environment that says sit on your butt and get on your phones and play games. And so we're trying to figure out, how do you change the market mindset to want to do physical activity every day, because it's good for your mind, body, and spirit. It's the same thing with food. We live in a culture where we just are hedonistic about the way we eat. How do you change the mindset to give people the understanding that a plant-based diet is what we need to be moving ourselves to? And none of these presentations really talked about the massive problem we have in America, because food is a part of the problem, and the way that we consume food is part of the problem. How much we eat is part of the problem. And it's incredible what you guys are doing. I mean, just absolutely incredible. Just like it's incredible what Robin and his team are doing with physical activity here in Kansas City. But we've got to change the mindset. And so I'm just curious as to how you guys feel about plant-based, diets, how the medical industry, I mean, here we are, Children's Mercy Hospital, and there are doctors that if they tried to prescribe plant-based diets for cancer cures, they would lose their license. So I want to hear what you say.
Well, I mean, I could really easily say that I don't even know how to do this. You can hear us that, obviously we're all involved with produce, and that is a big part of plant-based diet. I know at our children's garden, kids are totally surprised to learn that most of their food comes from plants. And so that is like eye-opening. And so they're just so used to seeing everything packaged and processed, so it doesn't look like the stuff you see at the grocery store. So that's a big eye-opening experience for children, just to learn that food comes from plants. And then the physical activity thing, gardening, when you're doing it, you're actually doing things. We have kids who have never used a shovel before, or like when we're building raised beds, we're using hammers. It's exciting to see kids get to use a hammer, so, and just to be active. So obviously, and for seniors, even to stay active by gardening is like a huge thing for their health. So all these things are obviously real important, but I don't know if anybody else has. That's real. Microphone doesn't really help.
Sure. Well, yeah, because actually, I'm a big fan of this topic here. I think we could talk for a whole hour just on that question. Like, marketing and behavior change is huge. It's something that, so I guess where's a good place to start? So looking at like the biggest funder in the food access space in the country is the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Don't quote me on the numbers, or somebody can fact check this, but I think they're in the couple $100 million a year that they give out for food access or health in general. So there was a documentary a while ago that came out that said the 4 largest food companies in the country spend that amount just in marketing on sugary products to kids every 4 days. So it's a little bit of an uneven playing field. I know I'm very competitive, though. I think Michael might be also slightly competitive. And so I love a challenge like that. And for me, how we overcome a challenge like that is, again, bringing people together in a way that is engaging, that is fun, that isn't like a, you know, I don't learn very well when it's a, you have to do this or it's wrong. It's a, hey, I'm going to eat this really good thing over here. If you want to have a bite of it, you can, because it's really, really good. And that's the way we have approached education. We've done stuff with, we did a berry bash last year with a school where we had 400 families come out. Driscoll's Berries donated 5 pallets of different types of berries. And we tried to make it fun. So we had, like, because there was such an excess of food, it wasn't just like, you have to eat this. This is the like healthy thing you're going to get from these particular berries. It was, we did like a tie-dye with blackberries on clothes where the kids were just getting to like smash and have fun with it. So trying to make it fun and approachable, make it something that seems engaging, do something where, like, I come from a restaurant background, so teaching people to cook sounds really fun to me. And I don't want to stand up at the front of a classroom and say, this is the proper way to cook a vegetable. This is why overcooked does this. This is why undercooked does this. This is what you want to look for. It's more of a, how do we build a space? We share recipes, we share the history behind it, and we make good food. And I think the first step for that to change is for us as the people with the kind of power to make that systemic change. We need to trust communities in a way that we are making food more consistently available, more consistently a part of their everyday lives and conversation, and doing it together from a lot of different approaches, whether it's, you know, us and some of the like access points, and making sure that as people are going to shop, they might not buy fresh produce the first time, they might not buy produce the 40th time they go to this convenience store, but if in the 150th time they do, I still take that as a win. And so we've had to build trust that we are going to be there consistently, that we're going to offer good, relevant foods at affordable prices. And that then we're going to partner with other organizations that are, I mean, some of like the work that Cultivate KC and Kansas City Community Gardens are doing. I mean, they've made real produce and gardening something that is real for these communities since, what did you say, the 70s? And that's the kind of intentional work that I think needs to be done as far as marketing. I think, you know, you can put billboards up, you can have commercials, but if you can sit across from somebody and make that connection, I think it's going to win out in the end. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, that's good.
I want to just piggyback with one thing I've seen in this space now is from the philanthropic community is how that messaging is coming around to where you're using produce as medicine. And so that's been a huge surprise to me to see personally. I'm plant-based for 7 years. And so just doing it in my own life, I wish I had done it when I was playing professionally. My career would have lasted a little bit longer. I'm telling you, inflammation and things that it just eliminates from your body from a plant-based diet, I personally have experienced. But from a philanthropic standpoint, of being able to compete with the marketing dollars that are put towards sugary items and things of that nature, compared to a plant-based diet, you're going against a system that has been set up, you know, from the dairy system, and you know, when you're a child in school and you're learning how to eat whole, you know, what's a plate, and it's got the meat on there and the dairy and all that stuff out there. That's a systemic, you know, charge at trying to get our kids to eat a certain way. So I think you go back to the kids. I think you go back to what KC Community Garden is talking about, and making sure they understand the plant-based diet and how it benefits their body. But from a philanthropic standpoint, understanding that, hey, now people are in places, right, who are making those decisions and saying, we're going to fund more opportunities like this, and we're going to put dollars so that people like Cultivate KC and Canby's and can go out and actually put that message out there. I think it's the intentionality behind the marketing. I think it's dual marketing as well, you know, understanding the importance of healthy lifestyle living, you know, and how do you actually do that. So
just one more thing from the agricultural and environmental perspective, unless you're growing entirely in a controlled environment, growing produce does involve interactions with animals. And so when we think about regenerative ag and in particular rotational grazing, there are so many ways that having animals involved in that process can be good for animal welfare, but extremely good for the environment that we're growing produce in. So I think that And I'm also a lifelong vegetarian, so I'm not really advocating eating meat, but if you're going to do it in a way that is good for the animals and good for the environment and enriches our soils and gets carbon out of the atmosphere.
Well, I don't think plant-based excludes meat specifically. I think it's just making sure that the majority of what you're eating includes fresh produce, fruits and vegetables, plant-based food. And so I think you make a great point there that we can do it in better ways, and we should be. But we're up against a marketing challenge, and which is why we believe here with the Kansas City Healthy Lifestyles Collaborative, one of our goals is to help align efforts so that we have a bigger reach and that we're moving in the same direction versus competing with each other. So you all gave excellent examples today of what you're all doing in this space, how you're working together, that you already have partnerships going on, because the philanthropic world is really kind of small. And if we're competing for the same dollars, that's going to make our program, that's going to interfere with our program. So how do we make sure that we're not competing for the same dollars? We're aligning our efforts in a way that advances all of the things that you're doing, whether it's on the residential level, the commercial level, helping to ensure that at the commercial level, we're harvesting those things and being able to use that extra food, and then we distribute it in ways that make it easier to access. So I really love what all of you are doing, and think we should think about this from that systemic perspective as well. Yes.
Well, that's a very good segue to my question. You all talked about sort of ad hoc, sort of informal partnerships. Is there a way to sort of formalize more collaboration, basically looking for joint grants? Is there a way to be more collaborative than you are already?
I think we can always do better, but I do think that we have pretty good open dialogue among the leaders of a lot of these organizations, and I think we already look for a lot of those partnerships.
Actually had a collaboration with Cultivate years ago, because it was like all these doors were opening up and people were thinking about growing food. And a lot of them weren't sure whether they were going to want to do a garden or they were wanting to do a farm. It was called Get Growing KC. And it was funded by the Healthcare Foundation, what was the Healthcare Foundation back then. And that really was a great collaboration because it started so many farms and so many gardens at that time. And then it just grew from there.
I think from us, we already work together in so many areas, and maybe not as formal, but some are formal with Candice and myself. I ran the Raytime Emergency Assistance Program for REAP. We had a partnership with the MU Extension where they would come and we would do healthy cooking classes. That was a big hit before COVID hit. I mean, I stayed in there. But we have those partnerships already in place. And I also think that it's important when it comes to the grant dollar. Like she said, the philanthropic community is so small and they want to see the collaborations. And I think that takes leaders not being afraid to actually work together to say, hey, we're doing the same thing. How can our programs benefit from that dollar? So I think with REAP, I learned about After the Harvest. They were donating fresh produce for our community in the Raytown School District, and we were able to help with fresh produce. When it got to After the Harvest, we started with, I learned about candies. We have a community garden at REAP that's sponsored by the KC Community Garden. So we have a lot of overlap in the partnerships already.
To add to that, that was pretty clear and concise. Yeah, you nailed it. Because we have and maybe another formal partnership on the way. Well, I mean, God is at our warehouse right now, and when we look like we've got a partnership with Children's Mercy where we are delivering food every week. We'd love to get back with Girls in the Run and some of the partnerships we've had there. Some of my earliest education around this issue and the issues around came through the work that MU Extension had done. The timing on some of these grants, I think, could be something that would look like if there was a little bit more flexible, trust-based philanthropy, where we all had a better baseline. It would allow us to think more strategically and more long-term about how we want to work on partnerships together. Because I think that's one of the issues I hear often is like, oh, I would love to do that, but I got to focus on this thing over here. So I got to maybe come back around to it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Go ahead, Dr. Kramer.
Sure. Well, on the line of funding, first of all, thank you all for your great work in the community and excellent presentations, everything you do. I'm thinking about the impact of all the things that you do. I'm thinking that it seems very consistent with some of the federal government's goals, especially the current administration, with regard to health, economy, the environment, and even global warming. So I just gotta think, how much funding is there from a federal standpoint? What you're
There could be more. There's a lot of funding out there. I think some of the challenges we faced as a smaller organization have been accessing that. It takes a lot of time. For example, we, knock on wood, are hoping to hear back if the government doesn't shut down. Yeah, hoping to hear back on some wonderful federal dollars here soon. That was an application we started over a year ago. And it actually made it to the federal level in April, and we're still waiting on it. And so again, as an organization that's only a few years old, investing the resources that we have in going after some of those larger federal dollars can be a long choice sometimes. And so how we again partner with some bigger like hospitals and bigger, more established institutions can help us go for that. But as you're getting started, my recommendation to the federal government would be to make some more funding available for more startup, early phase, or younger dynamic organizations that don't have the time and resources to go after that long-term funding.
So Cultivate's budget in 23 is about 60% government funded. We think it'll probably be closer to 70 or 75 next year with some new funding coming in and a couple of capital projects we have. The vast majority of that is coming from the USDA through Farm Bill allocations. And we have honed our skills at getting good at writing those applications. As Max said, it takes a lot of time, but those are grants, so they're competitive. So we're getting it, but then somebody else isn't, who probably is doing the same, if not better work than us, but just didn't have the right grant writer in place. So there is a lot of inequity in the grant system, and I would love to see more. Another opportunity that the USDA has is cooperative agreements, and that's you're probably familiar with that, but that's a different process where everyone who applies, if you put together a decent application, they just divide the amount of funding available to everyone who put together that application. Still a really lengthy process, but I would like to see first, more cooperative agreements and maybe fewer grants, and then obviously, yes, more funding available for the work that's done.
Any other questions from the group?
I just have another thought.
Okay, go ahead.
Talked about plant-based diet and education and all that sort of thing. So Netflix has a show now on the blue zones, the 5 places in the world where people tend to live to 100, much more frequently than anywhere else. And one of their pillars, as it's been analyzed, it's not necessarily that these communities decide, hey, we're going to be plant-based and then we're going to live long. It's just been analyzed by researchers. And one thing they have in common is a plant-based diet that these folks call plant slants. So we're looking at one additional way to educate folks on it, maybe recommending the Blue Zones streaming show on Netflix.
Is that one? And then there's one. There's one on athletes too, where they do a test where they're actually like testing like the blood glucose level on a few athletes that goes completely plant based. Can't remember the name of it, but it's on Netflix. It's a really cool show too.
The world's strongest man is plant based, actually. Yeah.
Eat more veggies.
Fruits and veggies, that's right. Lori.
So at one point in time, the early childhood working group had tried to work on maybe more co-op style buying for childcare providers in order to get access to fresh fruits and vegetables at a lower cost due to, it's expensive to buy fresh and feed lots of children. And so many of them opt to go canned or less than. Is there any opportunities that, I'll get to the question now. Okay, so are there any opportunities that you could kind of think of that childcare providers could somehow work with your programs? Obviously, if they have their own garden, that's sustainable and thing, but maybe more towards Max and the wholesale part. for childcare providers to be able to access those fresh fruits?
Yeah, call us and.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd be happy to, that is a part of like the way we've tried to pass on some of those costs is with other partnerships where we're doing beyond the distribution to the corner stores, but we are doing more like wholesale style partnerships. We have, the food that we're buying, we have a kind of a market rate that we're able to pass on. Because we are buying larger and larger volumes, we're able to get a little more picky with our pricing. We're able to buy from a few different places. And we do try and mix in as much as we can when we see stuff coming in on the what we call market pallets, the donated food. As we're sorting through that, we try and prioritize like, okay, if we know what these childcare providers are looking for, we have more of a broad list of like, here are things they could take. If it's something that we have excess of or we aren't going to use it in our stores and we have it, then we try and add that immediately to some of those orders. So it's more food for a reduced cost. But yeah, can you call and see what we can do?
Okay, thank you.
On that, I want to build on that for just a second, because Max, I heard you say something about Girls on the Run, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on distributing in new and different ways. So we've got Brookside Soccer here, Girls on the Run. How are there opportunities or things you're thinking of in terms of considering unique or different innovative places to get produce to people, like through youth sports programs, like a soccer program or Girls on the Run? Or at a child care center or at community centers, having coolers there, even at schools. I've heard that there are a number of schools, particularly in Kansas City, Kansas, where the athletes are not adequately fueled prior to their games because of the security issues they have there.
Yeah, so we are all of the above. So we like Girls on the Run was one of our earliest partnerships. I mean, it was still me and a pickup truck driving around when we started working together and packing those bags myself. I think there were some challenges throughout the pandemic for us as we got pulled in a lot of different directions. We took on some bigger programs that weren't really the right fit for us as we've refocused on this kind of food access, whether it's through the corner stores or these kind of more wholesale partnerships. That's really where we're trying to get very good at what we want to do. Because again, I'm competitive and I want to be really good at what we do. And so these opportunities, like we did with the KCPS, we were at their football combine last year. So we provided a bunch of snacks for the athletes that were playing, and we are in conversations and have been in conversations with them about how we might provide snacks to the athletes at football games, basketball games as an entry point into schools, and looking at like some other after school programs where we can start small. We can see, is this really making an impact? Is it making a difference? Is it helpful to kids like it? Is there some ways that we can get better? And then we grow incrementally from there. Broke everything.
Excellent. Okay, so I'd love to hear that we're thinking more broadly, innovatively. I love that you all are thinking that way as well. And so we have a few more updates we want to share with you today. So with that, I'd really like to take the opportunity to give our panelists a standing ovation. Like to you continue to get the word out about your great programs, and so we'll continue to do that through our newsletters and access to resources. So again, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you.
Are you guys gonna stick around? You take off.
Get out of here.
I hope not. Hopefully we can get through these updates really quickly and have some additional chance for conversation. Hopefully this sparked new ideas. Okay, so really quickly, we had a great set of panelists talking about access to healthy foods. We're going to shift to another one of our initiatives, which is the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan. We see these things working together very well. So we just wanted to give you some updates on the sectors that we have moving forward with the PA plan and upcoming meeting dates. So we've included the majority of them on here, just to make it easy. If you are not already engaged in our meetings or participating in any of these, if you have an interest, don't forget to complete your evaluation. On there, you can tell us that you're interested in getting more information about those work groups, and we're happy to add you and send that information on a regular basis. Schools meeting, I kind of have, no, I don't have them in order. Schools meeting is coming up on October 12th. Parks and Rec is October 25th. The sport group, we're going to talk a little bit about some meetings they have going on in October, but the next sector meeting is not until November. Early childhood, their typical meeting would be today. They're instead here. Thank you so much, Lori, for being here. Their next meeting is going to be Wednesday, October 26th. The public health group meets the beginning of November. And we are really excited to announce the business and industry has their first meeting scheduled. It will be Monday, October 23rd at 2:30 p.m. This is the 10th and final sector to go through strategy and tactic development. So it's primarily focused on workplace wellness and employee wellness. If any of you are interested, again, complete that evaluation and let us know that you're interested in joining that group. I did want to highlight a couple of sectors. Early childhood sector meetings generally take place the fourth Thursday of the month. That group has two subgroups going on. One is looking at physical activity resources for early care and education settings. We wanted to let you know if you work in the area of early care and education, a survey has been sent. We're trying to gather data from providers about the best physical activity resources for them. So if you haven't seen it, but you think you know someone who would like to complete that, let us know. We're going to be looking at the responses of that survey. It'll be open for another, I think, week or two. Healthcare. Our healthcare has sector meetings. The next sector meeting is October 10th. And then we have two subgroups of the healthcare sector meeting that are also meeting on a regular basis. They are the curriculum group, which is about including lifestyle medicine in education for health professionals. Our initial focus is on med students. So we've worked with the 3 local medical schools to work to embed lifestyle education within their programs. We also have a couple of projects going on with other health professionals, including nurses, health science students, and we're hoping to expand to other groups as well. That curriculum meeting is October 3rd, so it's next Tuesday. And then Just Walk, we have the planning group that meets on a regular basis, the Just Walk planning group, that's the meeting on October 10th. And then we also have Just Walk walks that are going on. Our current walks are taking place in Johnson County at Mill Creek Streamway. Did I say that right, Allison?
Yep.
Whew. They are on the second Saturday of the month. We just started them at that location in September. So the next one is Saturday, the 14th, I believe. Okay. So hoping somebody has their calendar in front of me, but they are free, open to the public. Anyone is welcome to join. We do meet outside, but we do have an indoor location in case of inclement weather. You can scan that QR code to sign up for email updates. And in that, if you sign up for that email list, we'll send you reminders about the walk, send you more information about them. And as we partner with other organizations locally who are hosting walks, will also let you know when and where those are taking place. Oh, sorry, you were taking a picture of that. Okay, and another update we wanted to share. So you probably heard us talk about the mass media sector. The mass media sector has just been renamed. It is now Media and Communications. That's just a slight switch, but we want it to actually reflect the sector. There are small group meetings that are currently taking place to finalize messaging for the overall plan. You all have heard us talk about that at these meetings and at sector meetings. We are really excited, and this is a promo for the next quarterly meeting, because at that meeting we'll be releasing the message campaign as well as how we want your help to activate that. So be sure and sign up for that. We have 2 additional sectors that are not currently meeting, but we hope to be bringing them back online soon. That's infrastructure and faith-based settings. And again, that rounds out our 10 sectors. I'm going to skip the website stuff for just a second, but if you haven't bookmarked it already, please bookmark kcphysicalactivityplan.org. If you ever can't find a newsletter, if you can't remember what the meeting date is, all of that information is up on our website. We're building that, we're building additional pages into there to include resources that we talk about. We'll be starting to do that with with the results of the early childhood resource survey that we're doing. We are also going to be updating our physical activity plan. So as these new sectors have finished their strategy and tactic development, that information will be found on the website first as well. Okay, I want Robin and Natalie to talk a little bit about a couple of other projects that we have going on. So Robin, I'll bring you up and let you give an update.
You may have heard us mention before asset mapping project that we have going on in partnership with the University of Missouri, Kansas City. We are nearly complete with that. We are going to get our near final update from UMKC, and we want your feedback. So this project is mapping all the physical activity programs within the 6-county KC metro area. Think about that. That's a lot of programs. We think right now we've identified somewhere around 800. That's a lot. We're still probably missing some. And some of the ones that we're probably missing are one of the more specialized programs that might be for a very specific population. And because they're very targeted, we want to make sure that they're included because that has a lot of value to those specific populations. So we are going to be presenting these, the 800 or so programs that we've identified so far at 2 meetings, one in Kansas, one in Missouri, Monday, October 9th at the Johnson County Arts and Heritage Center. 3:30 to 5. The Missouri meeting is going to be held on Wednesday, October 11th, from 11:30 to 1. That's at Equal Minded Cafe on Troost. So if you're interested in hearing the programs we've got and want to contribute your own, or just make sure that your program is reflected in the mapping project, please attend that meeting. And you can sign up by emailing. You can talk to us, or you can email Natalie here, and we'll get you added to that distribution list. Am I forgetting anything, Natalie?
I have a question.
Yes, ask away.
Is this the same meeting just in Kansas and Missouri?
It is it's the exact same meeting. We're just having 2 different options. And if you're in Missouri, you want to attend the Kansas one because it better fits your schedule, that's perfectly fine. We're not checking IDs at the door.
Food will be provided too.
Food will be provided at both of them. We'll do lunch at the Missouri meeting and happy hour type snacks, but no happy hour type drinks at the Kansas meeting. So, all right, thank you. Oh, and then I'm going to do the next one, and I'll do this update, but we also have our co-lead for the sports sector here, Bill Brandmeier. So hop on in if I forget anything. So the main project of the sports sector of the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan is our State of Play KC, which is a partnership with the Aspen Institute. This initiative started in August. And for a year, the Aspen Institute is going to be assessing the current landscape of youth sports and physical activity in our region. There's a lot of different things that were kind of 8 areas that they're evaluating in terms of like, are kids getting the opportunities that they want? Are there barriers to access? Are the programs quality programs in terms of both instruction, lessons that are age appropriate and safe for kids, things like that. This is a very, very big project. In other cities that this has occurred, it has led to major investments in equity around youth sports. For example, I just saw this week that in Oakland, Steph Curry, the NBA basketball player, contributed $50 million over the next year to help create sports opportunities within school-based settings. That's a huge, huge investment. So we are currently about ready to begin the primary data collection for that project. And that consists of what the Aspen Institute calls a youth survey. It is a 27 item question that is administered to 3rd through 12th graders. We are seeking partners to help us distribute this survey. Obviously, school districts are going to be the biggest distributors. So if you represent a school district or have contacts with school district leaders, please let us know and we can send them the appropriate information. If you have an organization, say Brookside Soccer, and you want to share this with people who are attending your programming, let us know. Likewise, we don't want to just get kids who are participating in sports. We want to get all kids, even those who may not have the opportunity to participate in sports. So if you're doing, associated with, say, the Boys and Girls Club or Big Brothers Big Sisters or some other organization that interacts with 3rd through 12th graders and want to distribute the survey, let us know. We will then have send you on information from the Aspen Institute on the survey itself, important informations about things like confidentiality and stuff like that, and survey content. And then we'll also include the survey as well. We want data collection to occur between October and November, maybe into a little bit of December of this year. Any questions about that? Yes.
So are you guys gonna have like a brief little handout that we'd be able to pass out to parents so that way they know, hey, on this day, this is happening? Yeah, cool, my kid takes that survey.
Yeah, so every place that distributes the survey is probably going to do it a little bit differently. Some places are going to say, hey, for the first 10 minutes of today's practice, we want you to take this survey. Others, it'll be, here's an email link, take it as you have time. So it can be distributed any number of ways. If, let's say, that's what you want a little blurb to give to a parent to try to get them to hand out the survey, we can certainly do that.
I think that would be good because we've got a set of tablets so we can go out to our after school time programs, as long as we can inform parents, hey, this is happening. If a kid talks about being on a tablet today, they just do a quick survey.
Right. Yep.
I'll just say that we'll be the 15th community to do this report. The other 14 communities, two are in process now, and Oakland was the latest that they just published. The data that comes back is substantial, and it's powerful in the fact that it has the Aspen Institute's name on it. Brings some gravitas to it. But the bottom line is when they come to present this information next April to us, there'll be a buzz around this report, and it'll be a linchpin for us to make changes that could really impact kids throughout our city. So it's a really powerful report that other communities have used in a really substantial way. Just recently, Robin sent us a story about what happened in Kings County in Seattle, where every single one of the sports teams has committed to transforming the youth sports landscape because of the report that they did 2 or 3 years ago. And it's pretty powerful. So we're super excited about this.
Yeah. Yes.
With Y, Cleaver family Y, it's in the pictures. So I'm happy to connect.
Hi, Kim.
Happy to connect to our sports director, but then will there be some like marketing collateral with QR codes? I'm thinking about the kids who are in sports and how to get to them, because in particular, at our location, haves and have nots, and we split the line on truths. So many of the kids are going to be in sports, but I'm quite frankly more interested in the feedback from the kids that don't have access to.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's get your contact information and we'll get you on the distribution list, and that will have info about the survey with like QR codes and things like that you can distribute as you see fit. And then if there's for certain settings, for like certain schools, if we can get a whole district to distribute it, or let's say or Y's, something like that, we can even potentially get unique QR codes for each location. So you can actually, I should have said this before, you can actually have access to the de-identified data after the survey's done. There's like a login on the back end, so you can see, okay, of our Y locations, we had 500 kids fill it out. Here are the differences in what kids want to do, what their barriers are by access. So that's one of the benefits to doing the survey. Obviously, we're going to get lots of data for the report, but then you'll probably get information yourselves that you might find useful. Locations that you might find useful. And you can speak to or contact Natalie for more information, or Katie, since you're sitting next to Katie. Or me. Yeah, or Bill, or me, or Shelley. Any other questions on that? Great, thank you. One more? Okay, I've got one more. Oh, I'm very happy to announce that we have, Dr. Joey Leitner and Amanda Grimes from UMKC and myself just received a 5-year, $3.5 million grant from the Centers for Disease Control Prevention for the Racial and Ethnic Approaches to Community Health Program. Funding starts on, what's today? The 28th, it starts on the 30th. So we're gonna squeak in right before the shutdown. The purpose of the REACH program is to help communities improve health, prevent chronic diseases, and reduce health disparities. If you want more information on the grant, you can just Google CDC REACH, and you'll see information about the program and all of the current recipients for this round of funding. There were a total of 41 communities throughout the United States that received funding. We have this particular project is very exciting because we've got 3 domain areas: physical activity, food access, and family-based healthy weight plans, clinical weight plans. Among those 3 components, we are working with a lot of the people that you're seeing in the room here. And I tried to list them all. I forgot at least 3 that I can think of just because we have so many partners. So we're working with MU Extension, University Health, Children's Mercy Weight Management, University of Kansas Medical Center, Pikewalk KC, couple different people at Mark, Canby's Market, KC Healthy Kids. I forgot KC Mo, Parks and Rec. So it's a big project that you're going to hear a lot about over the next 5 years, and we hope to engage with all of you as we start this work. I specifically wanted to mention it today because while we haven't done anything yet, we are hiring staff for the project. So we're going to be hiring a new FTE, a full-time research assistant, research associate, depending on your credentials. The position is going through the bowels of Children's Mercy approvals right now, so it's not yet posted. But if you are interested, or do you know someone that might be interested, feel free to reach out to us. This position will be working very closely with all the community partners that you see on the screen and the ones that I've forgotten to help implement these programs around physical activity, nutrition, and family-based weight management plans. So thank you. Is that it? Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Exciting.
Long and arduous process, as we sort of heard earlier. The grant writing piece takes quite an effort. Okay, so I know we've hit our time boundary here. So if you have to leave, we completely understand. But I did want to give anyone here an opportunity to share any updates you'd like the whole group to know about. Is there? Allison?
Our children's services department is gonna start doing more gardens at their out of school time locations. And they're
Outstanding.
actually reaching out to Kansas City Community Gardens, because they got it going at our nature play preschool in Shawnee. And now one of our elementary schools did one, and gardens are just taking off. So we are slowly breaking into the community garden world and to try and get more of those in our parks for some of those neighborhoods that need it.
I'd love to hear that. Outstanding. Anything else? Yes, Denise.
If you're looking for an initiative to get your family moving, your worksite moving, or organization, whatever, check out MU Extension's Fall into Fitness initiative to keep you moving through the winter months when we tend to slow down. So, in extension.missouri.edu, search for Fall into Fitness.
Thanks for that, Denise. Anything else? I'm going to go ahead and put up the QR code for the evaluation, so you have plenty of time to scan that and complete it. We do read them, and we do take your comments seriously. In fact, for those of you who have attended our meetings in the past, you'll notice the breakfast changed. That was because we had a comment that suggested changing it up a little bit. So we did. So I hope you enjoyed the new breakfast option this morning. Had a chance to get that. Kaufman does a nice job here with those sorts of things. So we do look. And please join us in any of the sectors that you're interested in. Again, you sign up for those through the evaluation, and we'll get you all the information that you want. So we're really pleased you were able to join us this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. We know that's not always easy to do. And thank you again to our outstanding panelists. I hope you all were inspired this morning, and I hope you all think of new ideas and innovative ways to connect all of our programs to align our efforts to actually change the environment in Kansas City. Have a great rest of your week.